Hey there, hope you're having a blessed weekend. Hey, I have got something to share with you, and what you're looking at right now is the same autopsy. This is the autopsy for a victim that was found in Lady Bird Lake in February of 2023, and there is the theory that there is a serial killer, and now has spread not just to Lady Bird Lake, but other places. But I want to just talk about this particular page on this particular autopsy. So what you're seeing on the left, this is the actual autopsy that was paid for. Well, I'm not going to say, by the person, but I have permission to use this paid for autopsy. And anybody can go and get a copy of the autopsy from the county. You have to pay a fee. And then what you see on the right is the exact, supposed to be, the same autopsy that was presented by Fox News. Oh man, is there a problem? As you can see, obviously one page is longer, obviously, but I'm going to show you exactly what they added and what they took out. Oh yes, Fox News edited an autopsy that they presented to the public as the actual autopsy from the county. When I saw this, I was so mad. So as you can see, this is from... You can just Google it, and you can just say, just Google Jason John autopsy Fox News, right? And this is what you're going to come up with. You're going to get this link, the Fox News, from the copy of the autopsy. This is page 3 of 20, okay? This is what I'm focusing on, because I want to show you something so important. The page that they chose to edit to the public to try to control the narrative. So first of all, you can see right here when they copied it, like this right here, this bar that's in the actual report is like missing. But so pretty much for these first 2 paragraphs are pretty much identical. But then you get down to here, this is where they start changing stuff, right? So it says post-mortem. So basically GHB was found. That's the bottom line. GHB was found in the person's blood. And so they're like, okay, well, it's a low level, therefore it naturally occurred post-mortem. And that's up to the person to decide whether or not that's actually true. Because if you look at it from a perspective that a serial killer could have done this, and the fact that there's a lot of people claiming that there's like even medical staff claiming that, they're seeing an increase in potential roofies coming from bars. And so what's happening is that if, let's say, for example, if you follow that story of the guy whose brother was killed, and he personally went and got copies of security footage, and you could see that he doesn't have any kind of history of being a heavy drinker. He was like hardly drank at all, and you could see, he said from his statement from the security footage, there wasn't him drinking anyway, to where when he left, you could tell that he was very disoriented, he was acting bizarre, and he said he just hadn't drank anything to be acting like that. So it was very clear that somebody slipped him a roofie, and which cameras can't see everything in the bar, but somebody obviously slipped the guy a roofie, okay, just from what he could determine based on what he evaluated from the footage. So it appears that there's probably somehow or another slipping roofies and drinks in a bar. Could be just somebody in there, or maybe somebody working there, or something. And so then they go outside and they wait for them, and by the time they leave, they're like vulnerable, and could even be doing it to multiple people based on reports, just to like increase the chances of getting a victim. Okay, and so when they leave on foot, they're they're vulnerable, and they're more easily accosted. And then at that point, once they grab them and then they start transporting them, at that point they could have injected them with something else that they know the autopsy, that are being extremely skimpy on what they're actually testing for. Okay, I mean, they're only testing for one date rape type drug. Are you kidding me? Especially a type of drug that they can easily dismiss as what's happening, if it shows up at all. They're just say, oh, well, it was naturally occurred postpartum. I mean, why aren't they testing for other date rape? You have all these accusations about this. So they get them in the car or whatever, and they're transporting them, and then they inject them with something else. Okay? But so by the time they get into the body of the water, the GHB could actually be like worn out. It has a very short shelf life or whatever. But at any rate, maybe it did occur naturally. But I'm just like, to the point, that's the viewer. We have the right to make these determinations, right? So this is a public record that anybody can get. So let's look at exactly what they removed. So here you can see this one here matches this. This one here is a little bit different. As you can see that the word swollen comes out a little bit farther than over here. Okay, so there's some editing here. So let's look exactly what they edited in that paragraph. So let's go to the sentence on the original one. This is the sentence that was changed in this particular paragraph. There were no significant external or internal traumatic findings found at autopsy or on postmortem radiology. This is what it says over here. There were no significant external or internal traumatic findings at autopsy or on postmortem radiology. The brain was mildly edematous. So basically, this right here, but you see how this word goes over here, and then this word ends up over here. So there's definitely an editing on font size or something going to make this paragraph look different. But when you get to the next paragraph, this is where they add a sentence. They add a sentence right here. No illicit substances or medications were detected. Let's read it, what it actually says. Postmortem toxicology testing demonstrated ethanol, alcohol in the blood and vitreous fluid. Although ethanol may be generated in the postmortem state due to decomposition, at the mild level of decomposition, the significant concentration of ethanol detected. But see, it doesn't say anything about no illicit substances or medications were detected. In fact, when you get down here, this is completely gone from over here. This is where they found GHB. But then they kind of just dismiss it that it was low level. Therefore, we don't even have to report this, but they're just making note of it in their autopsy. So this is what compare this paragraph that's completely missing over here. No illicit substances or medications were detected. Listen, if that's not what the autopsy report says, you can't just write what you want it to say. Fox News, right? At the request of the deceased's legal next of kin, additional toxicology testing, it doesn't say any of that over here, okay, was performed by NMS Lab C separate report. The results demonstrated ethanol at a similar concentration to what was previously detected. Delta 9 cannabinol, a cannabinoid found in cannabis marijuana, was detected at a concentration. Gamma, this is the GHB, a potent central nervous system depressant, was detected at a concentration of 24 mcg/ml. Gamma, GHB basically, is a compound that is naturally occurring in the body, and concentrations of GHB acid can increase in the postmortem state. Now here's the thing. They're writing their narrative based on what is being told to them. And if they're being told, look, we're debunking anything to do with serial killer. We're not even going to consider this. So it's really up to a medical examiner to say, well, if there's a serial killer, potentially, this could have had, if they had the person for a period of time and then injected them with something else, then put them in the body of water, this could have been reduced by the time that they are actually dead and then deceased or whatever. You know what I'm saying? But they just wrote it in a way that it just completely is dismissive, right? So it says the low concentration identified in this case is well within the range considered. But then you have to look at all the amount of deaths that are happening at Lady Burke and other places, and how many are showing up with GHB, how many are being tested for GHB. And if they're not showing GHB on a regular basis, then why would they just all of a sudden, just in one body, GHB is showing up? I mean, you know what I'm saying? There has to be a consistency, especially if you're actually looking for a serial killer. Or are you actually just trying to be dismissive? Okay? So it's easy to only test for one date rape drug when there's an active accusations of serial killers out there with bodies being dropped on a pretty consistent basis, okay, to only test for one date rape drug that's easily to be dismissed if it's low level? Like, that's just not really looking for a serial killer. To rule it out. So the low concentration identified in this case is well within the range, blah, blah, blah. Of note, both of the concentrations of the Delta 9, and his brother said he didn't do this. He didn't do this. So when you have, if they were to take their family members and say, okay, well, this guy's he doesn't have any history whatsoever of cannabis, right? And then you just start, all of a sudden you have cocktails, right? And you have alcohol and this, and then, you know, if they had even considered that the person had given them this, then lured them out and then injected them with something else and done a more extensive test to test for other kinds of things that could be used for a serial killer, which I'm not going to go in this video, but there's a whole lot of things that aren't generally just systematically or commonly tested for. They could easily be dropped in a drink or injected with later, okay? But the bottom line is they're not looking for a serial killer. They're really not in the way they're doing this. But anyways, but the point is, it's not okay for Fox News to just edit and put what they want. And I would like to hear Fox News say, but this is what we got. Okay, that would be a problem to say that, because the county presents what the actual autopsy said. And this was obtained. Paid for. This came specifically from the county. So how is this okay? Guys, how is this okay for Fox News to do this? What I really want for people to do is go to Fox News and say, hey, I know what you did. I know you edited that. We want to hear your side. We want to know why on earth that you would put out this autopsy. Okay, and I double dog dare and challenge anybody to go and get a copy of this from the actual county. Go get copies of these autopsies, people. And for those who are actually researching, those people who are really trying to, like on YouTube and other places that are researching stuff, if you're like me, downloading something that's supposed to be a legitimate autopsy that's being shared with from media sources, oh my goodness, please stop that. I'm begging you. I'm like on my knees begging you. Please don't do that. Please go get the copies. Spend the money for the fees or whatever. Go get the copies. Never again will I ever download something that is from, supposed to be a credible whatever, supposed to follow journal ethics. You know me, and I'm like, I already mistrust the mainstream media as it is. Okay, and this is the reason why. Look what they did. Look what they did, guys. They put out a fake autopsy that omitted the GHB. Just let people reason in their own minds on whether or not, yeah, this could have occurred naturally. But you know that there's a whole lot of people that have been like, no, we're not taking that. You know what I'm saying. But let the public have the right to do just that. So that's it for this one, and I'm just begging people, please share this. Please share this. Please spend a little bit of money. Go get some copies of autopsies from these victims, because this is not okay. And please go tell Fox News, shame on them. And I hope you have a blessed day.